So Derek McGrath, thanks so much for having us inside your classroom where you teach English actually here in De La Salle College. We're here to talk about your life in hurling. You came here as a 12, 13-year-old, but you did have plenty of hurling experience before you even got here.
Probably not negative memories, but I remember going up the first day, getting the belt of an orange slitter into the eye and coming down, roaring down the road. Probably that was the start of my emotional kind of bawling before and after matches. But yeah, look, great memories early on. You know, I suppose family environment, making friends, socialising and having the crack up in the club.
Yeah, and you remember going to Waterford games as a young man, or?
Yeah, I remember back in the day, it wasn't kind of as fashionable as it is now to go to Waterford games, but I remember there was a local supporters club run by the late Danny Sheridan, and Dad would bring us to matches on the Sunday, and traditional day out, you know, you'd have the call cannon and ribs along the way somewhere, and a bit of crack, and being brought off to Waterford League matches down in Kilmallock. I remember one match against Limerick, I was brought to the 82 or 83 Munster final. Unfortunately, we were beaten well, and the 89 Munster final I actually remember fairly well. It was the first televised Munster final, and Waterford were hammered by Tipperary, you know. So look, maybe start of a little trend that we tried to quell as the years went on.
Yeah, I think a lot of people don't realise when they think of Derek McGrath, they think of almost the manager of De La Salle who went on to be the manager of Waterford. But you were a minor for Waterford for 3 years, and in your first year when you were 16, you got to the All-Ireland minor final, as you mentioned there, where you lost to Galway. Like, that's some run of games. What's it like playing an All-Ireland final when you're 16 years old?
Yeah, well, there's more freedom there. Would you believe my career seemed to nosedive after the older I got? Maybe not that I met snack boxes along the way, but I certainly, you know, I definitely kind of, 92 was actually the freest year in terms of you're under 16, there's less pressure. People are kind of talking about, you know, well, sure, he's young, he's had another couple of years, and that's the trap you kind of fall into. So, yeah, we're beaten in the minor final in 92. I remember I was marking Conor O'Donovan, Galway centre back. He actually got man of the match, so I don't look back on the game itself with too much treasure memories, but yeah, huge experience at the time. I remember going up the night before, staying in the famed Regency Hotel, I suppose, the night before, and just the whole buzz around the whole year. But I was captain in 94, and I had a horrendous year. Sometimes you can, you know, the year that you're expected to kind of produce, it doesn't happen and doesn't materialise. And subsequent to that, then I only really played 2 championship matches with Waterford in 98. You know, I was part of the panel in 98, they got to the semi-final. So I played in 96 and I played in 98. So combination of things resulted in not quite making it, maybe just not good enough at the end of the day as well, you know.
I suppose one of the great successes of your career that probably, again, not everybody would know about is coming in here and taking over a team of first years that would go on to win 2 Harty Cups in 2007 and 8, is it? Yeah. And I saw an interview, I think it was in the Irish Times, where you were saying that, like, when they were in first year, you know, which would have been what, 2003 or 4, you put up a Harty Cup champions 2017 or 2007, sorry, on the wall, like, you know, and that's kind of like one of the little kind of mind game sort of things that you would later, we'd know more about as a manager, but from an early age, it's the kind of psychological, you believe you can do this, lads, I believe you can do it.
Yeah, and look, like anything, they're a bit gimmicky when they don't pay off, but when you win it in 07 and 08, they become part of, not folklore, but a part of the process. But look, I'd always feel that a visual reminder of what can be achieved. We actually had Harty Cup 07, Believe, was the actual, was what we'd written down, and you know, we just felt that we were building towards it. You know, we kind of, we ensured, if you like, politically that some of the guys would do transition years, so therefore they'd have an extra year in school. We kind of set it up in a way that everyone was kind of ready for an assault on it, if you like. And yeah, and look, I think things like that are important. You know, having a visual kind of reminder of what you can become.
I've read that you said before that first year you might have been a little bit kind of, not quite rabbit in the headlights, but not really willing to kind of enforce your own beliefs on the management team.
Yeah, look, I think I remember being down at we were training weekend with De La Salle, and the news had come through that Michael Ryan had stepped down as Waterford manager, and that night that I was getting phone calls about it, I think I'd gone into 1-7 in Paddy Powers for you know, to be the manager, just based on nothing as such, just based on maybe just perception, if you like, you know, as much as anything else. And I just think the whole year, the first year, that when you come in on the back, not of a player coup, but of a decision by players, there's kind of a certain poisonous air that follows you around. outside the group, like not you know, that kind of can permeate its way to opinion of you, etc. So I felt I was affected a bit by that. You know, I was almost kind of trying to please everyone, showing people that I wasn't affected by different perceptions or people's opinions, etc. And then there was a lot of experience around the dressing room that I won't say I kind of bowed to, but I was almost kind of, you know, is everything all right with player A because he's been here 10 years? Is everything all right with player B? Almost ruling by consent as opposed to ruling with what you felt was in your gut. The third thing I suppose I had a really packed backroom team, almost as much to get the job as not. And they were kind of saying, listen, we don't need a plan now, just leave them out to hurl, leave them out to play. And I was saying, in my own gut, I was saying, geez, I think we need a bit of structure as well as having a bit of instinct. And look, ultimately it was my shortcomings in terms of not being strong enough or authoritative enough to kind of say, this is the way we're going to do it.
And what changed then?
Well, a horrendous year changed, first and foremost, in terms of we were relegated, we were beaten by Wexford in the championship. Nothing wrong with being beaten by Wexford, but just my own gut then. I remember I had a couple of pints with a good friend of mine, Ger. I'd say that 2 weeks after, and I said, listen, I'm going to get rid of a good few. And even the language, get rid of, is not good language. It's kind of just, I feel that something needs to be done in terms of the kind of freshening up of the whole thing, you know?
Yeah.
And, you know, I omitted a few guys from the panel at the start of the year, over 9 or 10 guys from the panel, and we went a particular route, not just tactically, but in every way, and we just tightened the group, if you like. And that was difficult because there was, that air of poison, I said, that had kind of enveloped us in the first year, now became even more poisonous because the perception was, this fella hasn't a clue what he's doing, you know? So that was difficult in your own mind to kind of deal with. But, you know, I suppose like anything else, when you get a sequence of results that kind of steadies or readies that, it becomes a little bit clearer to people what you're trying to do.
Yeah. 1959 is a long time ago, and it's you know, it gets, that's almost an issue in itself, and you know, that's kind of something that's hanging over the county, I suppose. Is the one thing I would say from the outside looking in, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that it does seem that your 5 years in charge has changed the psyche a little bit of Waterford hurling. I don't think there's many people there that ever think that it's probably not going to happen, whereas I think maybe 10 years ago, after the All-Ireland defeat to Kilkenny, maybe that was the case. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I would, because I think there's a genuine sense of that this group are, and with all due respect to other groups, I think this group are, first of all, I think they're not they're articulate in their thoughts, but they're steady, like, you know, they're very, very steady. So I think in terms of, you know, taking on board criticism or taking on board constructive criticism or in living in the now, like they just live in the now, you know, they're the modern thinker in terms of they don't really get hung up on how people would perceive them, if you like. And I think they're very ambitious, you know, and they're extremely ambitious. They don't play the blame game. I think there's no finger pointing when they're beaten. There's no kind of sense of, well, we didn't have A, B or C for us, we didn't have etc. So I think they have, but I think there's been a combination of factors that have done that. I think the baby steps along the way in terms of beating Kilkenny for the first time in 58 years, you know, winning the National League for the first time since 2008, getting to back-to-back league finals. Small things that people, as I said, they mightn't see as kind of, you know, little kind of signs along the way, but for us there were signs that the progress can be, you know, I think implicit in their mindset is the whole idea of you know, the whole growth mindset, whereby they're able to kind of realise that there's setbacks along the way. And I think they have that. They know that. I'd say they only view this year as a setback. Yeah. You know, I don't think they view it as a kind of a nail in the coffin in terms of, so I think they're more resilient in that. Lots of them have gone travelling, they're living their lives to the full at the moment for the whole summer, and I think they'll come back refreshed and ready for a charge at it again. Yeah, for sure. I want to talk about some of the other things like your philosophy on the game and your future and stuff, but one thing we've kind of said to everyone is don't go into the ins and outs of the matches that we've talked about 100 times, but what was your favourite day? Win or loss, really? Like, what's the day that you have the fondest memories of? Yeah, very hard to kind of not distinguish, but to pull apart between coming down the home stretch in the All-Ireland semi-final last year, 71 minutes gone, and we always found it hard to kill teams, you know. I think 71 minutes gone, you're 7 or 8 points up. I think you know you're there into a final. So just remember taking a little glance around, allowing yourself a little glance around at the stadium, and we were outnumbered 7-1 by Cork, and all I could see was blue and white. It wasn't a Cork had exited the stadium, it was just all the blue and white were standing up, and it was just a nice feeling, a sense of satisfaction on a personal level that we'd scored 420 and we kind of had the tag for not being able to score goals, etc. So everything was kind of, you know, selfishly going along a track for yourself. Then you kind of come out of that bubble and say, it's great, we're here as a team. So you allow yourself a little moment there. And the Kilkenny match, I think the night we beat Kilkenny last year, the sense of trust in the panel, I suppose. I remember we went in after normal time having had a 9-point lead and it was evaporated. We're going in and our body language as a management was a disgrace now, and led by myself, just went in with our head in our toes. And the feeling was that we would go back to the first 15 and make changes again. And we just steadied ourselves as a management and we said, listen, we've been espousing about the merits of a panel for the last 4 years. We've got to go with the guys we brought in, let's just leave them at it. So I was just delighted that we trusted Tommy Ryan, we trusted Brian O'Halloran, we trusted the lads who had come on that night. And, you know, and it was, but the trust came in just a fleeting moment. I'd love to be able to say we planned that absolutely meticulously beforehand, say, the panel will get us over the line.
It just dawned on you.
It just dawned, and it was kind of like an epiphany moment. You know, we just said, feck it, like, we'll go ahead with that now and we'll stick with the lads. And I think it was kind of a moment for us to even be tighter, if it was possible to be tighter going forward into the next round, because fellas got their moment and they took their chance.
Just want to talk a little bit about your own kind of personal journey, I suppose, as stepping down this year. And the more I hear you talk about it, the more I can understand it. And like, I mean, you took the sabbatical from school, and I've heard you talking about the fact that you found it hard to even switch off, you know, in your home life and everything like that. Is it almost a case of ripping a bandage off, like from something that just needed to you needed a break from it?
Yeah, I think so. And it's just, and again, you're trying to get the balance right between being self-indulgent, like making it about yourself, you know, the disease of me, I think Pat Riley called it, but it was just complete immersion, you know, when you live in a county that longs for a breakthrough in the manner that Waterford do, and you get close, and you spend a winter then of 2017 not listening to people, but hearing people saying, Jesus, you're really close. That was the common thematic trend in Waterford last winter, you know, so close, next year's the year, next year's the year, next year. And you're kind of at your end in terms of effort level, output of emotion, output of just levels and what you can put into it. So I think that's what it is. It's people find it hard to understand and balance that with enjoying it. I was enjoying it as well. So people they say, hang on, he's contradicting himself there, because he's saying he's enjoying it, but yet he's out of effort. So it wasn't a case of criticism. It was just complete, just exhaustion from constantly thinking about it, constantly thinking how I can get better at it, how we can make the team better, balancing that with absolutely no request from my wife or the kids to give it up, but just myself saying, Jesus, can I get back to 5 years, not having been absent from the house, but I've been absent in my mind, you know, from the house. Yeah. So I said to myself, Jesus, I think I owe the oldest boy, especially he's 12, he's coming in here to school next year, and I said, it's bad enough for him to have a father a teacher in here, but having a father a manager in here on a Monday after a league game, I don't think I can put him through that. But that wasn't the sole reason. It was just loads of factors, I suppose. And even at that, in the last number of weeks, I'm just finding it hard to kind of balance. Have you let down the players, you know, as well? Have you kind of, you know, so, but look, that's just my natural personality, but I'll get there over that, you know.
Yeah, of course. Your philosophy on the game then, I wonder, is the whole sweeper system and everything like that a little bit misunderstood? For example, you know what I mean? For me, it was always evolving, and it was never the same one year after another. But would you be bothered by some of the criticism that would come up, that maybe you found it ill-informed or off the mark? But would it get to you when people were saying that, like, God, I couldn't watch Waterford, or, you know, it's such a negative game?
It would get to me, because it was ill-informed, it was inaccurate. We would present a different narrative amongst ourselves, you know. And it came to the point, the initial period of we weren't worried about it. Then when it started, not to permeate the group, but it was so talked about in terms of system, the influence was obviously that the other teams just meet after mass. They have no plan, the feel is there, you just go out and play. And the influence almost became, the concentration became completely on us and how we played. It became almost Donegal-like, not in terms of how we were playing, but in terms of focus.
Yeah.
And I think the accelerated progress we made over the 3 years probably put into focus the progress, you know. And I look then, and I look at, I read articles, for instance, and I read a huge amount about the hurling, and I look at the modern day centre back not straying 15 or 20 yards from his full back, and I see at play even now in a limited analyst role over the last month or so, other teams, and I've seen it as a manager, other teams setting up similarly, but not being subjected to the same amount of speculative kind of criticism, if you like. And I don't get irked by it, but I become kind of saying to myself, Jesus, that's actually no different, but people don't see it. So sometimes, I don't know who said when you're on the side of the majority all the time, you should pause and take a breath. I think it was Mark Twain. I'm not sure who said it. Someone said that. And so sometimes I've always found myself in the minority, but if you're right and if you're in the minority, you're still right, you know. So I always felt I was right on it, but I didn't want to be kind of shouting it from the rooftops, because if you're talking and you're explaining, you're losing. So when you're an active manager and you're saying, hang on, what are they saying about us with Ty? Killian Buckley does the same, Mark Ellis is doing the same, Declan Hannon will do the same the weekend.
Is Ty just better than
anybody
else?
I think, no, I tell you what happened. I'm straight, I've said it. Last year we played Offaly in after we were beaten on the 18th of June in the Munster Championship last year by Cork. And we played 3 weeks later against Offaly in Tullamore. And it was actually our first day in my 5 years playing with an out-and-out 7th defender. I have a theory on how it's different, you know, whereas we would like to see that we attacked as one and we kind of defended as one. The one interesting stat is our scoring averages over my 5 years went up hugely on other, which people probably perhaps, and again, it's not justifying it, but we scored a huge amount, a lot more than previous Waterford teams. You know?
What comes across to me always is how you put the human side into it, and you talk about, like, you use the word love openly, but I don't think I've ever heard a hurling manager talk about that as a group. And I don't know if that comes from you being a teacher or just your personality in general, but that group, I suppose, has bought into that in a way that you could never expect better from either, you know?
Yeah, and look, I think it goes back to teaching. Like, we have 11 teachers in the panel, I think 11, 12 teachers. There's a level of altruism and vocation in teaching, I think. And it's not all because of the teachers, don't get me wrong, but it comes back, you're imparting something that you think you know about. But in school, you learn more from the students than you do from anyone, once you're listening to them and you're taking on board what they're saying in terms of where you have to go about a particular class. So yeah, it is, there's love there, there's spirit kind of formed by caring for each other. And some people look at that as having lack of rootlessness, but that was part of our group, you know, and family-like environment. But a family, there's disagreements in families, you know, but at the end of the day, when you have to back each other, you back each other no matter what decision is made. So I think ultimately that's what it was about, that unified force. We're not, you know, I think sometimes we're conveyed as trying to rewrite the book of hurling, you know, that there's a science to it, and you know, Derek goes deep in terms of his preparation, and there's a meticulous preparation, and it's hamstringing guys in terms of where they want to go. There's always room for guys to come outside the plan or outside the structure. And that sounds counterintuitive to say that, but that's the truth. And part of that might be just, you know, living, or a guy that's going to a wedding on a Saturday and it's 3 weeks to go, and he says, can I have a few points? And you have a few points, and you know that the effort will be reciprocated then, because he's after saying, Jesus, I'm after being treated like a human being. So there's been no bans over our years and things like that.
Because I heard your motto saying to the players that we're making memories. Yeah. Is that right? Yeah. Because I think there's an element to that, is like, you know, we're 5 years together, and we might win All Ireland, we might not, but we'll do the best we can, and ultimately 5 years of your life have still gone by. And they should be good memories no matter what you achieve. Yeah,
and look, listen, I remember we were down in Fota Island 2 years ago. It was in between, we were beaten in the league final replay by Clare, and we were playing Clare in the league, or in the first round of the championship, semi-final of the championship. And I was saying, geez, what can we do now to kind of give the lads a lift? So I went around to all their primary schools, without them knowing, and their parents, and we got the old-fashioned scrapbook that you'd have when you're younger, that your parents would kind of gather memories. So I got all their old primary school teachers to kind of write to them and write letters to them as their memories of them and their class. So we went to Clashmore, Kinsale Beggar, we went to Ring for Ty, and their parents would put in, you know, photographs of when they were younger and all that. Not that they probably had them at home already, but we gave them to them the Saturday night of we were finishing the camp. And we wrote down a letter from each of the management then. We just said, look, making memories at the end of it. It's all about making memories. And well, as I said, some people perceive that as being quite corny or quite over the top. It was actually hugely emotional. I remember Kevin thanked the group on the Sunday morning. We were having our final meeting in Waterford after being down there 4 days, and he just said, I just want to thank those scrapbooks. They mean everything to us. You know, and I know as I said, it sounds a little bit kind of corny over the top, but there, you know, I had a late cousin of mine. He used to always sign off the text with making memories. You know, whether they're good, whether they're bad, you can live with them. Again, I'm quoting Kevin Moore, the All-Ireland final last year, the dressing room. He stood up and he just said in the dressing room, that's what living is about, lads. Ups and downs, you know, bit of perspective on that. And we were able to kind of move on from the dressing room to the banquet, you know, because of how he had spoken. We were all searching for words, we were all looking for what to say. And Kevin said, look, that's what living is about. We gave it everything, we had a bad start, blah, blah, blah. But, you know, I think those memories are good, they're bad, they're mixed, they're shared, but ultimately they're memories that we have forever.
Yeah, and I don't know if you take your kind of responsibility towards the players, and I think even to the county then latterly, you know, I think it's something you must take seriously, because I know even watching the speech you gave at the homecoming, the 20,000 people coming down from Waterford after you lose an All-Ireland final was an amazing scene. And I remember watching it, and then you gave this speech that I know from knowing you is just off the cuff, and it's just something that you're just talking, but it was so emotional and spoke to the people of Waterford and that psyche of Waterford that we talked about and how that's changing. That like I'm nothing to do with the county, and I'm nearly crying watching it at home. You know, like I mean, is that something that you can take having done this job? Is that you were that leader almost of an entire county, even more than a hurling team for a few years?
Yeah, well, I think Waterford people, you know, we've struggled for so long, but we've got a lot of hits, you know, maybe that's just a bit of paranoia on our behalf. I remember one of the teachers here wrote on a reference for me that I was intellectually curious, and my mother said that meant I was paranoid. But anyway, I said that before, but we can have a little bit of a chip on our shoulders at times about different things, and it builds a bit of resilience, you know. And I think if you're authentic, like if you're real, and I think Waterford people are real. And what I mean by real is they can be real harsh critics, and they can be real supporters as well, you know, like us all, like we all can be. So I think, I think we've taken a few hits, like economically and politically. Not that I know a huge amount of those things, and I was conscious of that, even crossing the lines of almost becoming a kind of a political type message, if you like. But I think there was just a correlation between the team in terms of its struggles and its ability to try and get to the top with Waterford, in terms of that when we lost the Crystal, and then we got Waterford Crystal back in terms of a tourist identification, that when we lost things that we had to fight to get them back, and the team was a kind of a correlation for that fight, like fight on your back and have a relentless spirit no matter what. I think the team united the people. So anyone that was sceptical about tactical setups or structure just rode in behind the team, and I think that's a good sign for Waterford going forward.
What's next for Derek McGrath? Is it full circle and back to coaching kids?
Yeah, probably. Yeah, I'm back in school here in September anyway, so that'll be not a new experience. I'm looking forward to that, and miss the teaching. You know, if I have not regrets, but I regret that I didn't have the personality perhaps to combine the two over the last 2 years, in terms of, you know, and I think I'd learn from that going forward if I ever got the opportunity again. You know, I was saying I think I'd be able to teach and manage, so I think I learned from that. So I'm back teaching, looking forward to going back into the classroom. I'll probably take the first years in De La Salle next year and try and bring them through for over a 4 or 5 year journey, if you like, and do a bit up in the club as well. And look, just watch it as intently as I have watched it over the last, 42 years, I suppose, or 36 years, I suppose, watching it since I'm 6 or 5 or 6. So I'm looking forward to kind of just watching it as intently. But I don't want to ever enter the bracket of one of the cute ones either. You know, that kind of just goes away from the game in a manner that, where you have a handy life. A lot of the speeches I gave to the lads over the years have been centred on the easy life or the hard life, and the easy life being kind of not challenging yourself and staying in your comfort zone. So I won't stay in my comfort zone too long,
I wouldn't say so. Derek, thanks so much for having us.
Thanks a million. So,
Cheers.
thank you.